Welcome to my home, IFO Vocabulary Highlight. As usual, please make yourself comfortable, sit back and enjoy the vocabulary we have for the last episode of Season 7. Have you ever been mistaken for someone who has a lot of romantic relationships, while the truth is you've been alone for years? In that case, people might have the wrong impression about you and think you have a womanizer stereotype. The word stereotype means a set of ideas that people have about someone, and it is often wrong. The second word is multidisciplinary. It means relating to different subjects or involving people from different types of work and knowledge. In the final episode of Season 7, Thanh Bui said, "The biggest hurdle for us is to share with parents the importance of the arts." Can you guess the meaning of the word hurdle? That is correct. Hurdle means a challenge, an obstacle that you need to overcome to succeed. Tech savvy. This is a new word for vocabulary highlight, but I'm sure many of you have heard of this word several times before. If you can skillfully use technological products and have profound knowledge of the modern technology, then you are tech savvy. Have you ever found someone who loves you although you are full of flaws? A flaw is a weakness, a mistake, or a fault that someone has or makes. The next word refers to a daring question given to Thanh Bui. How does he feel when people say that he was able to accomplish so much thanks to the support of his wife's family? He said, "I've got no qualms about that," which means he has no doubt whether he was doing the right thing or not. That's a straightforward answer from a decent man, isn't it? That has been pretty much the words I want to introduce to IFO audience this time. There are not many, but these words would remind you of the conversation that IFO had with Thanh Bui and see what a great person he is. Now, say no more. I know that you are awaiting answers to your IELTS questions. Let's see what have we here. Question number 1. How to tell the words effective and efficient apart? This is an interesting question. I have been using these two words very often because they are very effective in describing positive things. Now, efficient and effective are both adjectives. We use efficient to describe something or someone that works in a quick and organized way. The freshman seems to be very efficient. Meanwhile, the word effective is to describe something that gives you the results you want. For example, paracetamol is so effective in easing pain. Question number 2. What would you do when you deal with map in IELTS listening? This is a challenging question type for IELTS listening, since you have to focus on listening and looking at the picture at the same time. For this one, you need to clearly determine the starting point, or all the answers will be inaccurate. It is also handy to take a look at expressions of prepositions and directions as well. Question number 3. In IELTS reading multiple choice, should I read the question first or read the whole passage first? I would say that you should always pay more attention to the question than identify the keywords and locate the paragraph where the answer is mentioned. How do you allocate your time to complete 3 passages in IELTS reading? This depends actually, because unlike listening, there is no difficulty progression in reading. But do not hesitate to jump to the next question if the one you are working on is too confusing and difficult. Last question. Can you give me some advice to deal with table in IELTS Writing Task 1, as I see that it has so many data and statistics? Well, I would feel blessed if I come across this question type, but it might not be the case for others. Just like other types of figure chart, you need to pick the most noticeable numbers. You can also make comparisons between columns and between rows, in the same column or in the same row. Vocabulary highlight and Q&A have been one of my favorite online segments of IFO Nightly Show since the beginning of Season 7. Though this is the finale of the season, I do hope that we meet again in Season 8. If this changes to another format, I am sure the show will still benefit IELTS learners as long as you follow us. So this is not a goodbye, but rather a new beginning. I will definitely see you soon.
Now let's enjoy the moment by watching the highlight of the very last episode of IFO Nightly Show Season 7. In this episode, we have met Mrs. Tan Bui, a very famous artist from Vietnam, and listened to his wonderful journey.
Audience, in talk number 2, we're going to talk about love and feel, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. And you know, if you want to go grab a cup of coffee and grab a cup of tea, listen to some music like Love and Feel, and feel free to do that as you listen to our talk. So, anh Thanh Bui, you know, you took part in the Australian Idol competition, and this, you know, we knew of you. First time through that competition. Do you remember this time?
I remember like it was yesterday, but it seems, oh my goodness, like a lifetime ago. Yes, I remember it. It was the biggest learning curve because it was the first time that I stepped out as a solo artist. But as prior to that, I'd been signed to Universal Music and EMI, and back then, and released 2 albums through the boy band North. I'd always wanted to be a solo artist, but I never had the courage. I was too scared and too afraid. So at 25, I'd literally sort of achieved everything that I ever wanted to achieve by that time. And I thought to myself, well, what's the next step? And my mother said to me all the time, well, why don't you try for Australian Idol? And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. No, absolutely not. I don't want to bear my soul on national TV, man. I don't want to do that. It's too hard. But you know what? I summoned the courage and I went, okay, let's do this. And that year, I remember, was 32,000 contestants, and I came 8th. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because I learned how to be vulnerable, and I learned how to accept criticism. I learned that as an artist, you have to be so honest and so true to yourself so that the public can feel you. And through that competition, it made me realize what being a real artist was. And it's about bearing your soul and actually being so comfortable about that, and learning how to cope and to understand that being judged is just a part of life. You can't control it, so don't worry about it. And once I got comfortable with that, that's when I think my career really started to open up. So I would say that Australian Idol was my first opportunity to truly understand what it meant to be an artist. And then secondly, it was the first time in my life that I connected with the Vietnamese community.
Now, we knew a lot of your songs, 13, 14 years ago, 15 years ago. You and I, Through My Eyes, A Little Love. Did love always encompass and embrace your life?
Yeah, I think I'm a really positive person, and I think that I have a lot of love to give and a lot of love to receive, and I just feel that ultimately when you die and when you look at life back and you're on your deathbed, you just want to know that your loved ones are around you, and you just want to know that they're going to be okay. Because they are the ones that are going to miss you the most. They are the ones that would die for you. And I think I've been really lucky in my life that I don't have a lot of friends. but I have some incredible friends around me that would literally die for me. And I think if you can, the more I got comfortable with myself and just, you know, self-love, and I know it may sound cliche, but when you get comfortable and you start to love yourself more and more every day, and accept yourself and all your flaws and your weaknesses and all that kind of stuff, I think what you're able to do is share that positivity and love for everybody else. And I think ultimately, love is what drives us. Love is why we live. Love is the defining factor of whether we're happy or unhappy. It's love. That's what humans, that's what makes us human.
That was, again, another powerful and exceptionally touching and inspiring story, as well as sharing. I appreciate you answering that question. Thanks so much.